If only. If only we had a world where Yajirobe tried just that little bit harder. Because if he did, then Goku's lot in life would be a hell lot easier. In fact, he would still have a life. With a little bit more application into his training and a change of belief, the Ronin could have wound up being one of the strongest beings on planet Earth, and even managed to put Piccolo in his place. But is that a good thing for the Dragon Team? Really? In the last part, Goku and Yajirobe had arrived at King Kai's planet and immediately began to make their mark with the deity. Having told him some interesting jokes, the pair got to work with training their bodies in the 10 times gravity that was the planet. Both of them got much stronger than they were before, and they found techniques which they became more and more adept toward. Goku pretty much had the spirit bomb down pat, but the Ronin wasn't particularly feeling it due to the fact that he had a lack of a pure heart, more of a selfish heart. It meant that he wasn't overly effective in using it because it kinda hurt him. Instead, he turned toward the likes of the Kaioken, and his energy stores and physique seemed to provide him more of an advantage with it, more of a boost, with the side effect being that he could lose weight in seconds if he pushed himself too hard. Meanwhile, out in space, Raditz did his best to throw off his colleagues from going toward Earth, hurling them into chaos with fire coming from an uncharted corner of space after nearly blabbing about the Dragon Balls. With that additional borrowed time, things on Earth looked a little bit calmer for the Dragon Team down where they were training. But as that was all going on, training like they didn't have a care in the world, and they knew that Goku was still alive, Piccolo was hatching a plan to take over the world. Having lost his opportunity to do so with Gohan, or pretty much just using Gohan exclusively, realizing that he was far too volatile to contain at this time, he had to go it alone and start wreaking havoc on the populace slowly but surely, testing the waters to see if the other Earthlings were even close to his power. He hadn't understood the anticipation of Goku and Yajirobe regarding the Saiyans, but with his life linked to Kami in mind, he knew that nobody on this planet could harm him. They wouldn't dare. And oh yes, that Martha trick, if they pulled that stunt again, it wouldn't work. He was wise to that one. Let's resume, shall we? With his plan in mind, Piccolo set about systematically undermining multiple small communities, tricking them into believing that he was some kind of miracle worker. The Namekian had previously come to the conclusion that simply going into settlements and villages and wreaking havoc, just tearing the ever-loving hell out of them, that would be far too inelegant and would attract attention that would be far too soon and far too powerful. No, he would have to do this gradually, get the population on side that would come to his aid. And that was one thing that his father failed at. He took power with an iron fist, and the fear angle was not sustainable. Once Goku and his friends had been able to defeat him and undermine him, people were quick to abandon his following. They'd effectively forgotten about the days of King Piccolo. This had to be a steady process, one that wouldn't get Kami looking in his direction. Like he would do anything about it, he thought, the old coot. Over a period of weeks, Piccolo started to gain a little bit of a friendly reputation in the regional villages surrounding big towns and some of the smaller villages as a figure of good fortune. He would help stop natural disasters, subdue criminal acts, and one time, even saved a cat from a tree. Now these small acts of justice and heroism and just general help, they were noticed and celebrated. Sure, he kind of looked at that one guy who tried to overthrow the government, and even that Ma Jr. guy from the tournament a few years back, but he didn't act like him at all. He was nice. That other person was nice. Oh, those poor Dragon Ball Earthlings, they were so quick to forget, they were so stupid. Once he had gotten their initial trust, Piccolo began to tell them weird stories of his adventures, fascinating ones, after catching badniks and whatnot. Most of them, by the way, he made up or embellished hardcore, or he flat out stole from Goku. He would paint the likes of the Saiyan, Yajirobe, and the others as the real bad guys, people who would stop at nothing in bringing him down.
I never told anyone this before, but it was Goku who was responsible for the murder of my father. He's killed hundreds of people over the years.
He's referring to the Red Ribbon Army massacre, by the way. I mean, yeah, he didn't mention that they were the baddies, they would just so happen to be people.
And I must do my best to make a stand and prevent him from killing again.
Naturally, these folks loved a good story, and thanks to their isolation from the big cities, they would just eat all of this up with little resources to question or fact-check him at all. After all, their access to telecommunications were greatly limited. They had a TV and maybe a phone, and usually that was it. Sure enough, since Kami wasn't expecting this from Piccolo, a war of words from his lifelink associate, it flew completely under his radar. He was expecting Piccolo to just blow stuff up. Oh, what a naive old man. Meanwhile, on King Kai's planet, the training continued unabated. Yajirobe had bulldozed his way through the early stages of Kaioken, and with this accelerated appetite, King Kai found it considerably challenging in of itself to try and feed him. And not only that guy, but a fully committed Saiyan. Sure, he was a god, but he wasn't made of money. Whatever counted for money in the other world, of course. Goku had learned Kaioken too, but he was limited right now to Kaioken times 2 and 3 at a push, but it was barely sustainable for the most part at this time. As for Yajirobe, he found that he could go further. With every multiplier he was able to add, the faster his waistline would decrease, and the hungrier he got. He definitely was going to master this technique, as he could easily market this when he got home. Maybe not quite as hardcore as he was using, as nobody was as awesome or as skilled as he was. If anyone else tried it, they would be gone within seconds. He wouldn't give them the full goods either. His sweet spot, and King Kai's limit of food acquisition, was about Kaioken times 7. 7 times Kaioken? Observed King Kai when Yajirobe pushed toward it. I never even thought Namis could even get their head around times 3. Who is this guy? He's like the ultimate machine. Goku was watching this too. I know, right? When he puts his mind to it, his latent power is amazing! For a human. Huh? What's that supposed? Oh, right, you're a Saiyan. Gotcha. As for Goku, he was still quite strong, but also incredibly fast at the same time. Both fighters had power, but Goku was still the more complete package. The Ronin didn't mind though. He just wanted to punch people hard, whatever speed he could muster. They would fall down regardless. Back in the cosmos, Raditz's little stunt had sent the trio far off course, but after considerable ducking and diving and hiding, since Saiyans can't breathe in space apparently, they were back on track. Fortunately, this stunt of Raditz's wasn't seen by these two as deliberate or some kind of diversionary tactic. No, Vegeta simply viewed it as just plain, straightforward incompetence. Raditz didn't care though. He had heard plenty of derision from the prince regarding his intelligence to last a lifetime, and his grunt, it meant absolutely nothing to him at this point. Frankly, he was just glad that they had taken the bait and hadn't questioned it. But still, they were continuing their course for Earth. He hadn't fully shaken them off. He couldn't pull that kind of stunt again. It would have to be an organic stunt. He was dreading the prospect of seeing his brother's face again, and the look of disappointment on his face. He knew that they would never, ever forgive him for this. Even though he had kept his end of the bargain, it wouldn't matter. They wouldn't trust him. They wouldn't believe him. It wasn't his fault that the prince chose to come anyway. Or was it his fault? Sure, he had tried to steer their attention away from them, but it wasn't good enough. He deserved everything that he was going to get back on that planet Raditz. He deserved it. He knew they would be much stronger than him by now, and that he should probably accept his fate. He was either going to die alongside his fellow Saiyans, or he'd have to flee, never see his brother again, desert everyone, even Lord Frieza. What was he to do? As Goku and Yajirobe were training, and the Saiyans were bearing down closer toward the solar system, Piccolo's plan of mass subjugation through amiable methodology was proving to be quite the success. Word had spread now to even cities, including West City. Talks of heroic acts were gathering steam, and on some occasions, Piccolo would even enact them in those metropolitan areas. All of this increasing his reputation even more in the green. The Big Green Wonder was proving to be quite the hit, and it was only gathering more steam, now attracting the attention of the likes of Bulma, because West City. As she was working in her workshop, she had seen a news report where Piccolo was being interviewed and acting like some kind of hero. Odd. Piccolo wasn't a hero. He was a pathetic excuse of a villain who paled in comparison to his father. Sure, King Piccolo was meant to be the devil incarnate, but at least he was honest about it. His son, though, painting a false picture just to undermine the real heroes of Earth? That was a new low. She decided to contact the others and told them about this farce, what Piccolo was getting himself up to. Krillin and company took up the challenge. Don't worry, Bulma, we'll set him straight. That's funny. You're not scared? No, said Krillin, taking offense to that remark. I'll have you know that Goku and Yajirobe's training has been really cool. We're way stronger than Piccolo now. Then why didn't you stop him sooner? Said a very skeptical Bulma. We didn't think he was an issue, since he hasn't killed anyone yet. That was a point. Piccolo hadn't killed anyone in his life, as far as they knew. He had been so fixated on Goku up to now that he didn't think about anyone else. Maybe he had changed his ways, she thought. Maybe Raditz putting him down like that twice made him see sense. That violence wasn't the answer. Nah, we'll go check it out for you. See what's going on, said Krillin, confident they could take him or sort this out. But when they got to where Piccolo was located, it wasn't so easy to get a message across. Thousands of people were there, cheering his name, for he had just stopped a damaged jetliner from crashing into a nearby nuclear power plant, one that Bulma's Capsule Corp used for energy consumption considerably, and tons of lives had been saved. The Dragon team were perplexed by this. What's that creep up to? Said a very unconvinced Tenshinhan. It's me. Whatever it is, said an equally unimpressed Chaozu. We'll shut him up. With their confidence at an all-time high, considering their power levels were much stronger, and it was justified, this is not some kind of bluffing or anything, they were ready to bring Piccolo down. He was their target. But when they got closer, it became increasingly obvious what this was all about, what his game was. The moment he clapped eyes on them, Piccolo then changed tack. He looked incredibly frightened.
It's them!
He shouted, pointing his finger at Krillin in horror.
The allies of the man that killed my father!
Immediately, the crowd whipped around to spot the group, which included, no way, the famous baseball star Yamcha? He was a killer? No way!
Boo!
Yamcha, of course, was particularly concerned. I see what he's doing. Piccolo's using his reputation against us. We can't fight him, guys. Tenshinhan was not impressed with this apparent disinclination to act. What, you're concerned about your baseball career or something? Come on, you're a fighter. We fight people. Let's get this over with. He was ready to go. Oh, Piccolo reveled in this.
Call this saving the world? Bringing down the one person who has been spending every waking moment trying to protect it? How dare you be in my presence and try and undermine my good work?
The crowd became a mob and rounded on the quartet. Now this attracted the attention of Kami, and when he saw what was going down, he sighed deeply, understanding what Piccolo's plan was.
I should have known. He has turned the people of Earth toward him through manipulation. He truly is the son of his father, only even more devious. Those poor fools have no idea what they have let in.
With it becoming clear that they would not be able to get away in edgeways here, the crowd were against them. The foursome had to retreat to Capsule Corp and report back to Bulma what they had seen. By the time they got there, Bulma was ready for them. You seriously went in there all guns blazing? I thought you were gonna catch him all alone or something and talk to him. She was quite mad. But Bulma, we're way stronger than him. We didn't think it would be a problem, but all those people were cheering his name. Tenshinhan nodded.
It seems like he's garnered good favor with the people, the complete opposite of what his father did. But with the same result, said a despondent Yamcha. A mass following.
Thanks to your little stunt, you've only made things worse, said Bulma, partially feeling guilt herself for provoking them to act in the first place. So, what do we do? Get Yajirobe and Goku back to help? Said Krillin.
That won't help. The people won't allow it,
said a sad Yamcha. But then Chaozu chimed in. Since when did the fat one care? They turned to face the little vampire. Yajirobe doesn't care what people think of him. I say let him waste him. You know he wants to. They all blinked dumbfoundedly. That's kinda true. The little fella had a point. All right, I'll get in contact with Kami. I left him with a phone. Let's hope you know how...
No need, Bulma. I am well aware of what's occurring. Piccolo has turned the people of Earth to him through peaceful means, a heinous act of deception. I heard what you said, and I shall contact King Kai post-haste. Let's hope Yajirobe receives the message.
Sure enough, the duo did get the message, and when the Ronin found out that Piccolo was causing trouble, he was very much willing to put him down. But Yajirobe, you can't kill him. Don't you remember Kami? We won't have Dragon Balls.
Man, I don't care anymore. He's a Namekian, right? So go get another one of those if they exist somewhere or whatever. We can get Dragon Balls there. We can't keep living in fear, Goku. I don't want to anymore. That kind of thing pisses me off. I'm going if you're not.
And with that, Yajirobe just simply flew away, off the planet, and down Snake Way lickety-split, leaving Goku all on his own. He was shocked. Wow, he just acted up all on his own. King Kai walked up to him. That doesn't surprise me, buddy. Yajirobe is clearly the lone wolf type. He acts for himself. Sure, the way he acts around you is good for you and your friends, but he's not going to be pushed around by anybody he deems unworthy. And this guy, he deemed him unworthy. Consider yourself in high standing, buddy. Goku thought about following him, but he hadn't finished his training yet, and hey, yeah, Yajirobe could deal with Piccolo on his own, yeah? It's not like the Saiyans had arrived yet. And thusly, Yajirobe had broken off his training to take care of Piccolo once and for all. Would he be able to stop before he killed him? Well, tune in next time, as that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now.